Anna Davis sat in the sleek but sterile office of her divorce lawyer, her fingers trembling as she signed her name on the papers that officially ended her marriage. The pen felt heavy in her hand, as though it carried the weight of her broken promises. Across the table, Jack Miller sat rigidly, his jaw clenched. His expression was unreadable, but the way his fingers tapped against the table betrayed his restlessness. Both were drowning in the silence, too afraid to say the words that might break them further. Across the table, Jack Miller, her ex-husband, sat in silence. His sharp jawline was taut, his eyes fixed on the empty space between them. They hadn't exchanged more than a handful of words during the entire process. Anna swallowed hard, her throat tight as she fought back tears. Her gaze darted to her handbag, where a secret lay hidden, the shredded remains of a positive pregnancy test. She had destroyed it in the restroom before their meeting, as if erasing the physical evidence could make the truth disappear. Without a word, Anna rose from her seat, the echo of her heels clicking on the marble floor blending with the finality of their parting. 6 years had passed since Anna Davis walked out of that office, her heart shattered and her secret buried deep. Life had not been easy, but it had been full of quiet, tender moments with her son, Ryan. Ryan was her world. A curious 6-year-old with a mop of dark brown hair and sparkling green eyes, he was the perfect mix of her and Jack. His laughter filled the modest apartment they called home, making every struggle worth it. Anna often stayed up late, balancing her painting commissions and Ryan's school projects, her exhaustion fading each time she saw his beaming smile. He was her anchor, her reason to keep going even on the hardest days. Anna had built a life for herself and her son as a freelance artist. She spent her days painting and selling her work at a small gallery downtown. It wasn't glamorous, but it allowed her the flexibility to be there for Ryan. Despite their small victories, a shadow lingered. A question Ryan had started asking more frequently: "Mommy, where's my dad?" Across the city, Jack Miller lived a very different life. Once a rising star in architecture, he had thrown himself into work after the divorce. His life had become a cycle of deadlines and long hours, punctuated by fleeting moments of loneliness. The walls of his minimalist apartment were as empty as his heart. One rainy evening, Jack's monotonous routine was interrupted by an unexpected knock on his door. He opened it to find a courier holding a padded envelope. Inside was a photograph of a boy with his unmistakable green eyes and a letter written in Anna's elegant handwriting. "Jack, this is Ryan, our son. I've kept this secret for far too long, and I know it was wrong. But I'm ready to change that. If you want to meet him, we'll be at Willow Park this Saturday at noon. If you don't come, I'll understand, but I need you to know he's been asking about you. He deserves to know his father." Jack stared at the letter, his chest tightening with a mix of disbelief, anger, and regret. He hadn't seen Anna in years, and now he had a son he'd never known. Memories of their last days together flooded back, her distant eyes, the arguments that left him raw, and the silence that followed. His hands shook as he read the letter again, the words blurring as questions overwhelmed him. How could she keep this from him? And yet, how could he not go? As memories of their last moments together resurfaced, he clenched the photograph tightly. His hands shook as he read the words again, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. For the first time in years, Jack's carefully constructed life felt uncertain, and as he glanced at the clock, he realized he had only days to decide if he was ready to face the truth. And the family, he might still have a chance to rebuild. Saturday arrived and the sky above Willow Park was a blanket of gray clouds. Anna sat on a weathered wooden bench, her hands buried in the pockets of her coat. The crisp autumn air carried the faint scent of fallen leaves and damp earth. Just a few feet away, Ryan played with the soccer ball, his laughter cutting through the stillness. Anna's heart pounded as she checked her watch. 11:58 a.m. 2 minutes until the meeting that could change everything, or shatter her fragile hope. Her breath caught when she heard footsteps approaching. She turned her head, and there he was, Jack Miller. He stood a few feet away, his chest heaving as if he had been running. Their eyes met, and for a moment the years of silence between them dissolved into a flood of unspoken emotions. Anna felt her throat tighten, her heart racing. His face was the same, yet different, etched with lines of weariness, but his eyes still held that familiar intensity that once left her breathless. "Mommy, who's that?" Ryan asked, tugging on her sleeve. His green eyes, so much like Jack's, widened with curiosity. Anna knelt down, her voice trembling. That's your dad." Jack felt frozen in place, his feet rooted to the ground. His gaze shifted from Anna to the boy beside her, the boy who was undeniably his son. Ryan clung to Anna's coat, his expression a mixture of curiosity and uncertainty. "Hi," Jack managed to say, his voice rough and unsteady. Ryan tilted his head, studying him intently. "You're my dad?" The question struck Jack like a hammer. He nodded slowly, his throat tight. "Yes, I'm your dad." Ryan's small face twisted with confusion. "Why didn't you come sooner?" Jack's heart shattered. He looked to Anna for help, but her eyes were downcast, guilt written across her face. Turning back to Ryan, he crouched down to meet the boy's gaze. "I didn't know about you," he said, his voice trembling. "If I had, I would have been here. I promise." Ryan studied him for a long moment, his young mind processing the answer. Finally, he gave a small nod. "Okay." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. Anna exhaled, relief mingling with the tension that still hung in the air. Jack straightened, his gaze flicking to her. She offered him a tentative smile, a silent acknowledgement of the difficult path ahead. "Want to play soccer with me?" Ryan asked suddenly, holding up the ball. Jack blinked, caught off guard. Then a small, genuine smile broke through his guarded expression. "I'd love to." The next hour unfolded with a fragile beauty. Jack kicked the ball gently to Ryan, who giggled as he dribbled and passed it back. Anna watched from the bench, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Every now and then Jack glanced at her, his heart aching with a mix of longing and regret. When Ryan finally collapsed onto the grass, breathless and grinning, he looked up at Jack with sparkling eyes. "You're not bad, Dad." The word "dad" made Jack's chest tighten. He smiled, ruffling Ryan's hair. "Thanks, kiddo." Ryan sat up and turned to Anna. "Mom, can we get ice cream?" Anna nodded. "Sure, sweetheart." Ryan's face lit up as he looked at Jack. "You're coming too, right, Dad?" The invitation made Jack's throat close. He glanced at Anna, his heart pounding. To his surprise, she gave him a small, encouraging nod. "I'd love to," he said softly. The three of them walked to a nearby ice cream shop, their steps tentative but in sync. They settled into a corner booth, and Ryan chattered excitedly about his favorite flavors. Jack found himself marveling at the boys' energy and joy, overwhelmed by the realization of how much he had missed. Anna's voice pulled him back. "Mint chocolate chip," she said, sliding a cone toward him. "Your favorite." Jack looked at her, his throat tightening. "You remembered?" Her eyes flickered with a mixture of warmth and guardedness. Some things you don't forget." For the first time in years, there was a spark of something between them, something fragile, but undeniably real. The weeks that followed were a delicate balancing act. Jack began spending more time with Ryan, easing into his role as a father. He picked Ryan up from school, helped with homework, and even learned the intricacies of bedtime stories and dinosaur trivia. Each interaction felt like a small victory. Jack savored the sound of Ryan's laughter, the way his eyes lit up during their soccer games in the park, and the quiet moments when Ryan would lean against him, content and unguarded. But with Anna, things were more complicated. She kept her distance, her walls firmly in place. They were polite, even friendly, but there was an unspoken tension between them, a chasm created by years of hurt and misunderstanding. One crisp autumn afternoon, the three of them attended a fall festival at the park. The air was filled with the scent of cinnamon and freshly baked goods, and the sound of children's laughter mixed with carnival music. Ryan ran ahead, his excitement contagious. "Mom, Dad, look," Ryan called, waving them over to a pumpkin painting booth. Anna hesitated, glancing at Jack. He offered her a small, tentative smile, and for a moment, she felt the weight of her defenses ease. Together, they knelt beside Ryan, who had already chosen a small, round pumpkin. "What should we paint?" Jack asked, picking up a brush. "A family of pumpkins," Ryan said, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Like us." Anna's breath caught, and she exchanged a glance with Jack. His eyes mirrored her own mix of emotions: hope, fear, and a longing to bridge the gap between them. "Okay," Anna said softly, dipping her brush into the paint. They worked in comfortable silence, each of them focusing on their pumpkin. Ryan giggled as Jack accidentally painted a crooked smile, and Anna couldn't help but laugh when Ryan smeared paint on his own cheek. When they were finished, 3 pumpkins sat side by side, a tall one, a medium one, and a small one, all with matching smiles. Ryan clapped his hands, his face glowing with pride. "It's us, our family." Jack's throat tightened as he looked at the painted pumpkins, then at Anna. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, but she managed a small smile. Later that evening, after Ryan had fallen asleep, Jack lingered in the living room. Anna stood by the window, her arms crossed, gazing out at the city lights. The air between them was charged with unspoken words. "Anna," Jack said, his voice low. She turned, her expression guarded. "What is it?" "I know I've missed so much," he began, his hands fidgeting nervously. "With Ryan, with you. But I don't want to miss any more." Her jaw tightened, and she looked away. "Jack, it's not that simple. We've been through too much. I don't know if I can trust you again." "Let me earn it," he said, his voice filled with quiet determination. "I'm not asking for everything right away, just a chance." Anna hesitated, the vulnerability in her eyes breaking through her defenses. Finally, she nodded, almost imperceptibly. "And we'll take it slow, for Ryan's sake." Relief flooded through Jack, and a cautious smile spread across his face. It wasn't a promise, but it was a start. Over the following weeks, Jack became a steady presence in their lives. He and Ryan developed a rhythm, building a bond that grew stronger with each passing day. Meanwhile, Anna began to lower her walls, little by little. But the path to rebuilding their relationship was far from smooth. There were moments of tension, unresolved questions, and memories of the pain they had caused each other. Yet amidst it all, there was also laughter, shared moments of joy, and the fragile hope of something new. One crisp October evening, Jack arrived at Anna's apartment to find her sitting on the balcony, a steaming mug in her hands. The sky was painted in shades of pink and purple, the chill in the air signaling the approach of winter. "Hey," he said softly, stepping onto the balcony. She looked up, her eyes weary but soft. "Hey." He leaned against the railing beside her, the silence stretching between them. Finally, he spoke. "Do you ever think about that day?" "What day?" she asked, though her voice betrayed that she already knew. "The day we signed the papers." Anna's fingers tightened around her mug. "Every day." Jack swallowed hard. "I wish I'd fought harder. I wish I'd chased after you." She closed her eyes, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I wish I hadn't run." Jack turned to face her, his heart pounding. "We've lost so much time, Anna, but I don't want to lose any more." Her gaze met his, and for the first time, the walls she had built seemed to crack. "I'm scared, Jack. What if we hurt each other again?" "We will," he said gently. "We're human. But maybe this time, we'll fight together." A sob escaped her lips, and she leaned into him, her forehead resting against his. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her tightly, as if the world might shatter if he let go. The days that followed were filled with cautious joy, like walking a tightrope over the unknown. Jack spent more evenings at Anna's apartment, their lives slowly intertwining as they tried to rebuild what had been broken. Ryan, ever the curious 6-year-old, seemed to thrive with Jack's presence. He no longer asked where his dad was. Instead, he eagerly looked forward to their soccer games, bedtime stories, and Saturday trips to the museum. But between Jack and Anna, the path was more delicate. Some days felt effortless. Easy laughter over dinner, a shared glance that spoke volumes. Other days, the weight of their history loomed large, and silence filled the gaps they didn't yet know how to bridge. One rainy afternoon, Ryan burst into the living room, clutching a piece of paper. His cheeks were flushed with excitement as he waved it in the air. "Look what I made!" he exclaimed. Jack took the drawing, his heart swelling as he studied it. 3 stick figures stood under a colorful rainbow, their hands joined. Above them, in wobbly letters, were the words, "My family." Anna knelt beside Ryan, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It's beautiful, sweetheart," Ryan beamed. "Can we put it on the fridge?" "Absolutely," Jack said, his voice thick with emotion. Together, they walked to the kitchen, where Ryan proudly stuck the drawing on the fridge with a magnet. Jack's gaze lingered on the simple yet profound words, "My family." For the first time, it felt real. Not perfect, but real. The first snowfall of the season arrived in early December, blanketing the city in white. Ryan pressed his nose to the window, his eyes wide with excitement. "Can we go outside?" he begged, bouncing on his toes. Anna laughed, already reaching for their coats. "Let's do it." Bundled up in scarves and gloves, the 3 of them stepped into the winter wonderland. Ryan squealed with delight as he flopped onto the ground to make snow angels. Jack and Anna shared a smile, their breath mingling in the cold air. Ryan suddenly popped up, his face lit with inspiration. "Let's build a snowman, a big one." They rolled the snow into uneven spheres, laughing as they worked. Jack lifted Ryan onto his shoulders so he could place the head on top. Anna found stones for the eyes and a scarf to wrap around its neck. When they were finished, the snowman stood lopsided but grinning, a reflection of their perfectly imperfect family. Ryan clapped his hands, his face glowing. "We did it! Our snowman!" Jack turned to Anna, snowflakes dusting her hair. "I love you," he whispered, the words tumbling out before he could stop them. Anna's eyes widened, then softened. "I love you too." The words felt both familiar and new, as if they had been waiting years to be spoken again. Ryan ran up to them, throwing his arms around Jack's legs. "Are we a family now?" he asked, his voice filled with hope. Jack knelt down, pulling Ryan into his arms. "Yeah, buddy. We're a family." Anna wrapped her arms around them both, her laughter mingling with her tears. The snow fell softly around them, blanketing the world in quiet perfection. For the first time in years, they were whole.